Hello everyone, welcome to yet another video about a Pasquale Grasso solo, just like the previous video. And because I was in this flow of transcribing a couple of his solos, I thought to make one more video, and this time it's a solo on the standard Strike Up the Band. You might not be familiar with this standard, Strike Up the Band. It's not the most well-known or often played standard, but the chord changes are very common. It's basically lots of 2-5-1s in a row, some in major, some in minor. So naturally, the solo that Pasquale Grasso plays is full of very useful licks that we can practice to play on every standard you can think of. Let's get started with the first phrase. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. This is what I refer to a 1-3-5 lick, which means that you take the 1 or the root, the third and the fifth of a chord, and you build some kind of lick around those notes. So in this case we're in B flat, so this is the B flat triad. There's many possibilities to build licks of these notes. For instance, very common example, very easy example is to play lead tones to every chord tone. Well, here's another example. It's basically enclosures, so you play some notes around the chord tones. In this case it's around the fifth, around the root, around the third. Now in the original solo, you can watch that solo by clicking on the link in the description. The lick is actually longer. He starts earlier, so he starts from this B flat and then it goes like this. 3, 4, 1. So you could practice it like that, or you could even play the same lick and start here in a different position. 3, 4, 1. I think it would be useful to practice it in those two positions so you can use it in every key with ease. Let's go to the next phrase. 3, 4, 1, 2. 1, 2. The progression here is B diminished to C minor or C minor 7. That B diminished is functioning like a G7 chord. G7 flat 9 or G7 altered to C minor. So you could also think G7 to C minor, or you could even think D half diminished. G7 to C minor. So then the progression would be B flat for 2 bars and then a 2-5-1 to C minor. And that is what Pasquale Grasso is doing. So he's thinking D half diminished by playing an arpeggio, an F minor 7 arpeggio. As we all know, D half diminished. You can see it on the guitar. That's the same voicing as F minor 6. So my rule for 2-5-1s in minor is don't think about the half diminished chord or D half diminished, but think about the equivalent minor chord, which would be F minor. And then you could play F minor 7 or F minor 6. It doesn't really matter, even though F minor 6 would actually have a D in it. But that E flat sounds great. So first you play F minor 7, 2 lead tones, and now it's a standard scalar lick down for G7 altered or lick. It's basically just the G7 Phrygian dominant scale, but who cares about the name? Just remember this fingering, resolving to C minor 7, There's this B flat here, but even if it would go to C minor 6 again, you can just play that. For minor chords, I don't really distinguish between minor 6 and minor 7 when I'm soloing. Of course, when I'm playing chords, there's a big difference between playing C minor 6 or C minor 7. But for the solo, I can either play A or B flat. So one more time. Great 2-5-1 lick to minor. Let's go to the next phrase. 3-4-1. 4-1. Notice that even though we're in the middle of a 2-5-1 to B flat, it doesn't really play 2-5-1 to B flat. He's thinking about 2-5-1 to C minor. And then he starts a new phrase on the F7. So the C minor is its own thing. It's considered to be a new 1 chord. And that is a choice you can make. You can also think of it as the 2 to B flat and play a 2-5-1 lick. But in this case, Pasquale Grasso is just playing a phrase in B flat, starting on F7. And now there's a really nice 2-5-1 lick to E flat. It's a short 2-5-1, right? A 2-5-1 where the 2 and the 5 are in the same bar. Doesn't mean you couldn't play it on a regular 2-5-1. Then you would just have to think of something to play on the 2 chord. So maybe you could play 3-4. Or maybe. And then we have these arpeggios. All E flat major arpeggios starting on different notes. Of course, Pasquale is using completely different fingerings, but his fingerings are way too difficult to be played by a mere mortal like me. So I've changed the fingerings to something that is easier for me. But still not very easy to play. It's a little bit unwieldy also to keep the timing, but it's a good exercise to practice your major arpeggios. Let's go to the next phrase. 3-4-1-2. 1-2. So here again we have a diminished chord, E diminished in this case, going to F minor. It's the same kind of progression as we had earlier with B diminished, going to C minor. And again we could be thinking about a 2-5-1 instead of a diminished chord. So in this case it's a 2-5-1 to F minor, so G half diminished, C7, F minor. Or we could even think about a 2-5-1 to minor, but starting with a minor 7 chord instead of a half diminished chord. So not G half diminished, but G minor 7. C7 to F minor. That is what's happening here. Pasquale Grasso plays. That's just G minor. And now C7 altered phrase. Resolved to F minor. Of course we could have played. We could have played with the D flat, so you get G half diminished arpeggio. I'm not sure that sounds better though. I think this sounds more interesting, but you could choose for either option. Let's go to the next phrase. 3-4-1-2. 1-2. And here we have a really tasty 2-5-1 lick to E flat, starting on the 3rd beat. So, of course, on beat 1 there was an A flat, but there was more of a resolution from the previous 2-5-1 lick to F minor. Now we start on beat 3, 1, 2. So here we get part of the octatonic scale. Or you could say it's just some lead tones towards a D flat major arpeggio. And if you play a D flat triad on top of B flat 7, you add the sharp 9. That's a really nice note to add, and by playing this line you suggest that chord to the listener. And then the resolution is very nice. First a lead tone to the 5th of E flat from above, then a lead tone from below to the root, and then a lead tone from above to the 3rd. And a scale down, ending on the 6th of E flat major. And that was it for this video. Of course, there is a second half of this course, and I will make another video about that second half, but especially for my patrons over on patreon.com in an exclusive video. So if you want to see that video, check out my Patreon. If you join there for the €5 tier, you will get access to the tab that you saw on screen in this video, and also to many other tabs from previous videos. And if you join for the €10 tier, you will get access to those tabs, but also to the exclusive video I'm going to make about the second half of this course, and to many other exclusive videos from the past. If you like this video, please give it a like, consider subscribing and hitting the bell notification to get updates on my next videos, and hopefully I will see you in the next video, either on my Patreon or right here on YouTube. Bye!